Chris got asked to start. Do you have any comments on Cat or any other trade things at all?
No, I'm not at liberty to say that. So.
You talked at the end of this season, last season, about the concentration on offense and
Yeah.
offensive improvement going into this summer. What did you come away with in examining things over the summer that are points of emphasis and that you're going to lean on to kind of boost that number up?
Yeah, I think three things stick out in my mind, really. I think we can get better in transition. I mean, we forced a lot of turnovers. We didn't really cash them in quick enough. Team speed's always been a little bit of an issue, but we should still have more of a quick strike mentality. We probably led the league. Well, I know we led the league in turnovers in the crowd. Those kind of careless ones. Those are ones you can control. So that would be number two. And then the most important thing would be clutch offense. Just decision making and offensive efficiency kind of at the end of games. And maybe even also I would throw an end of quarters at that too. So.
Did you convey a lot of that to guys in conversations over the summer? Like, how does that start to sink in so that maybe when camp starts, it's not all new to them?
Yeah, we have these conversations throughout the summer for sure, individually and collectively with what we're trying to accomplish. But they are major kind of talking points as we start camp. We'll review them. They'll be part of what we're doing in training camp. After we've put in the foundation, we've got to get to these things. So.
Chris, specifically, how does your defense have to get even better next year?
Well, the first way that it gets better is that we got to be able to do it again. We got to be able. We certainly can't rest on our laurels. Last year, all credit to our guys. They came into the season with the mindset of forging their identity through the defensive end of the floor. That has to be the case again. Given our personnel, it should be the case for sure. We have an incredible amount of defensive talent and also defensive versatility. But we need to. There are, again, just like offensively, there's marginal gains to be had. I think we can be better defensively. We were amongst the best zone teams in the league. We could probably play zone more, but we got to figure some things out there. Fouling's always been an issue for us, so we could always reduce the number of fouls.
Clutch offense has kind of been maybe the one negative thread in the last few years that's come with a lot of success. Do you just view that as like younger guys needing to continue to evolve? Like, is there a difference in tactics? Like, how do you approach that problem that's kind of been there for a while?
Yeah, good question. I mean, certainly there's several ways to approach it. First and foremost, a lot of it has to do with Anthony's growth and continued development there. It's been a big point of emphasis for him. It will be. Putting him in those situations, maybe finding some better packages, on the coach's side, some better packages for us to close games with, some better or different combinations of guys than we have in the past, and then finally, I think sometimes we might go away from what we know is really, really good, and that's Mike Conley. I think Mike Conley certainly is, when you look at the numbers, one of the best. One of the best with the ball in his hand late in the game, making the right play, and particularly when he's in combination with Rudy and with Ant. So first and foremost, we got to get Ant better because that's where the ball's going to be a lot. But we do have other options. We're going to miss Kyle. Kyle was huge in those situations, so we got to find somebody who can maybe help fill that gap too.
My other one off of that, with this team obviously was very different when Mike wasn't out there, or like at the end of that Dallas series when he just wasn't healthy. So how do you approach this season, knowing that he did get hurt at the end of last year, and trying to preserve him and make sure he's as good as can be? Or do you write out the end of last year as just kind of an unfortunate timing thing?
Yeah, I think obviously Mike is kind of getting up there in age, but we don't treat him like he's like some septuagenarian or something like that. He does a really good job of communicating with us, talking with us about how he feels. I do know from previous experiences that he kind of likes to, keep going with the flow if he's playing well. Being mindful of his minutes for sure. But one of the reasons that you do manage guys' minutes is so that you can load them up in the playoffs. The injury in the playoffs was a freak thing. I think at the end of the one game, he kind of tweaked his ankle. But we need, we still need, somebody to kind of emerge there. We feel comfortable with the options that we do have, whether it be Nikhil. Anthony can obviously slide over, play more of a lead guard role. Joe Ingles is an outstanding decision maker, playmaker, pick and roll player in particular. And of course, there's Rob, and we know that we're going to rely and have to rely on our young players and bringing them along, throughout the course of the season so that they, can help us in meaningful games towards the end. Hopefully, that's the plan.
With Ant's growth, back here.
Okay.
Chris, back
Yeah,
here.
sorry.
With Ant's growth, how important is it to surround him with pieces that open up the floor for him and allow him to operate with the ball in his hand?
I mean, of course, it's always important to have as much shooting on the floor as you possibly can get. That's kind of the cheat code for the modern NBA, right? I mean, hey, let's put out as many shooters around our number one guy if we can. But, there are other ways to play the game. There's other things that we have to be willing to do if we're not able to, just put four 40% three-point shooters out there. We're still a team based on movement and cutting, fluidity. We need to reestablish that. Some of that has to, some of that burden also falls on Anthony to move and accommodate his teammates out there too. So, we also saw last year in the playoffs that, teams are committed to giving 2 defenders for sure, and oftentimes 3. And we had wide open shots, and those shots didn't go in by really, really good shooters. So there has to be a plan B. You can't can't always be just shooting. So
And a follow up to that,
Yeah.
In that ambition, what's the value of having big shooters on a team like that when you have a guy like Anthony Edwards?
a lot of shooters.
Big shooters, stretch fours, fives who can hit threes.
Yeah, I mean, the shooting's great. Doesn't matter where it comes from, So, what I really love is versatility. I think it's better to have versatility than just one-dimensional shooting.
Chris, when you watched the playoffs last year, and sometimes you got to watch a guy in a series, you know it better than we do. Luka Doncic was unbelievable with his patience and his almost understanding. Just about time you think he's going to go to the basket, no, he's not, but he's going to come back to him. All those things. Can you teach that? Can they gain that from the playoffs? Watching a superstar like that, where it's just like it's 1 second beyond what you think he might, and all of a sudden he's got an open look that you can't explain.
There's surely stuff to be gained by watching other great players play, but all these guys are unique in their own right. If you've watched Luka play, he's been doing that since he's been 14. He has an incredible feel for the game. Everybody's a little bit different. Our star players can do things that he can't do. And our system is a little bit different than that. Based on what our star players can do. So, but for sure, he had an incredible series against us and had a great season overall. And they built a very, very complimentary team around him, which accentuates all those great skills he has. So.
Chris, in regard to Nas, right here, Chris.
Yeah.
In regard to Nas, career high in minutes last year, obviously 6th man of the year.
Yeah.
But how close do you view him as a potential starter? Do you feel like he could be ready for a role if called upon in a starting role throughout an 82-game season?
And we're lucky. We feel we have 7 or 8 starters. That's a great thing. Incredible depth, starter level talent. Obviously can only start 5 of them. We have. We've talked about looking at lineups where we get him on the floor more, maybe at the small forward position. That most likely isn't as a starter. Just finding ways to continue to grow his role. But his importance to us is incredible. His ability to kind of impact our team off the bench with incredible energy and offensive shot making. Every year he just seemingly figures out a way to cement his role in a way we didn't necessarily kind of see coming. We know it's there, but it's always been a little fluid, and he's found a way to kind of maximize those moments and those opportunities and just kind of make it part of what he does every day.
Chris, it seems in the NBA these days that teams are kind of built to win now, or they're built to win sort of later down the line. You seem to be in a situation, and have been in your career a couple times, maybe in Houston with James and New Orleans with AD, of kind of playing both of those timelines. Did you take anything from those experiences that you find applying, to today with Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I think it's, yeah, I think it's a journey. Certainly, we're not going to take anyone by surprise this season, like maybe we did last year a little bit. So it's, I don't look at it as like us on two timelines. I look at it as like us on one timeline. There's the only really, I think when I look at the modern playoff landscape, the only thing and how it pertains to like getting, winning a championship, the only thing that really matters to me or seemingly matters to me is making it there every year. Like you have to be consistently there. Like, of course, if you look at Boston, they're clearly an entrenched Eastern Conference Finals team. King of the hill over there on the East and the West. It's not so much. It's like it feels like it's just wide open every year. You have some incredibly talented teams. You got some championship pedigree here, but the season's just to me like Tim Connolly probably says it best. It's not always a linear path to success. So, but getting there every year is the most important thing, particularly for guys like Anthony. And I think, and I know at one point it was the case, but I'm not sure. I haven't checked my facts, but I would imagine it's continued to grow. People that have been drafted number one overall, like I don't think anyone's done more playoff winning than he has as early in his career, and that is the most important thing. So surrounding him with the right type of mentality and the guys who can help win also, and Jaden and Nas, coming into last season, we were unsure about how Jaden and Nod would play in the playoff because they had missed the year before. So they have to build on what they did last year too. So, yeah. So to me, it's a continuum, and you hope it's one that continues to escalate. We feel confident that we have the ability to do that, but we also know it's going to be tough. Super tough.
Tim was just saying he expects a big year of growth from Jaden offensively. When he is playing with players who maybe like to have the ball in their hands a lot, how do you as a coach try to accentuate his growth on that end when the opportunities are not as frequent for him? Yeah,
I think for sure we're all anticipating a big year from Jaden. I think he's had an outstanding summer, one of the best ones that I've been able to see up close. I've been in the gym every single day. Want to build off the momentum that he was able to establish in the playoffs. But it comes down to me. I got to call his number more. When you have a team full of a lot of high usage guys, oftentimes that usage balance isn't going to naturally fall to guys like Jaden. He's got to stay ready. He's got to do what he can do in the flow. I think there's a little bit more that can be done there. He can help us in transition. He can help us on the glass. He's a really good cutter and mover off the ball. I think he can get back to a little bit more of that. But it comes down to me. I got to call his number. I got to put the ball in his hands. I do think there's some situations where I could see him as a playmaker for us now. And some of the assistants have been hitting me all summer that he's ready for that. And I think he's always been ready for it. It's just, it's just only so much usage to go around, so.
How much are you going to want to see ball movement? How much are you going to want to see people playing off Anthony with the ball in his hands?
Yeah, I think for us, ball movement's the king. Whether it's early ball movement for the sake of it or ball movement away from a crowd, something we got to get a little bit better at, or just making that unselfish next play for the wide open teammate, like something that we really preach and we value. Making the right play is a mantra for us. And then, everyone has to learn how to play off of each other, and learn to play off of Ant is I think guys have a pretty good comfort level with that right now. But again, he's got to also mix in. I think there's some ways he can add to his game with some easy buckets. Get some easy buckets for himself, whether that be in transition, where he's super dynamic. I think you can get back to a little bit more of that. And I also believe just kind of being a little bit more, fluid and moving a little bit more off the ball from time to time, just to kind of keep the defense honest. So.
Coach, what's the expectations for bringing Rob in, lineup-wise, and then also what have you seen from him so far this offseason that's really impressed you?
Yeah, I've seen early growth. That's what you really like. I think he, admittedly, he struggled a little bit in summer league, and that's not unusual. It's adjusted to the size, it's the physicality, speed. He's seemingly made that adjustment here, watching him play in the gym. Looks like he's got figuring out how to get to his spots and what to do there. Good. I think I can expect them to have a pretty good chemistry with Rudy. He can get to the paint and throw a lot of touch passes. That would be nice to have another lob thrower. What we need from him is to be himself. Like, all these guys are great players. We tell them all, you got here by being really good at something. Go do that. That's why we picked you. And then, play to your strengths, play away from your weaknesses. We'll try to help you get better wherever we can and put you on the floor with lineups that can help protect you, where you're weak and accentuate where you're strong. So, he's just, it's going to be ups and downs. That's what it's like with young players. We're excited about him. We're excited about TJ. Josh Minot's had an incredible summer. He's probably been one of our best players in the last 6 weeks here in the gym watching us play. So I'm excited. So we're going to need some help from somebody, and we got a bunch of guys I think are ready.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thanks, guys.